Yes, thank you, Penny, for having me. Yes, I'm Caroline Fitsimones, and I have been a pediatric occupational therapist for 21 years now. And I will say my biggest learning experience and application has been after having kids, one of them being neurodivergent. And this is where the rubber hit the road, and I really had to take inventory of what I thought I knew and what I really didn't know. And so it's been such a wonderful learning experience, filled with heartache and humor. And just after having been through that lived experience myself, I just have a whole new compassion and empathy for parents that I work with. And so, yes, a lot of what I do now is much more um, realistic. The expectations are more um, realistic for families in general. And there's just so many hardships that we're navigating anyway. And so it's something that's much more doable for parents and more supportive in just my approach in general. That's such a good example. And I'll back up a little bit. As far as in the clinical setting for OTs, we have to set goals. Otherwise, we're not working towards anything measurable, and we're sort of just kind of shooting in the dark. So setting goals gives us a vision to work towards, and then in between, let's say I evaluate a child, set goals, and then 12 months later, I reevaluate him. Now I have a baseline, and so setting goals is not to set us up for failure, but it is to give us something to track. And so when we're off base, we get to course correct and pivot instead of pounding our head against the wall and saying, why isn't it working? But every hiccup, every quote unquote failure is data, just like you were saying. You get to track it and pivot and notice, okay, we have found all the ways that don't work. Now we get to try different ways that do work. And oftentimes that means we need to think out of the box and do something very differently in a way we probably wouldn't have tried before. Yeah. Absolutely. And we're practicing in real life, in real time, exactly what we want to teach them, which is cognitive flexibility. If this doesn't work, let's shift. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's it. And yes, I'm definitely ready to dive in. Okay. So this is where we are vision casting, and this is where we get to dream as big as we want to. There's no right or wrong. And it could be more broad level. So when we're vision casting, think about a puzzle we're putting together. We're usually starting off with the corner pieces, the edges, and then we're just sort of setting it out, and it gives us a foundation for where we want to go. So vision casting might be for our family, for example, having more peace and joy and trust and freedom as a whole, and having that felt sense of safety on a daily basis. And this can be hard for some families who only know chaos and survival mode. I've been there. And so anything outside of their current day-to-day life may seem unreachable. But so what we're doing here is just we're writing it out without having any sense of is this achievable or not. We're just writing down our goals and what success would look like for us. I'm sorry, our vision, what success would look like for us, for our family, for our kids. It could be, for example, for our kids to be creative problem solvers. So these are just in general what we desire for our family as a whole, what we desire for ourselves as parents, and what we desire for our children. Yes. In the next step, we will get to more specific goals, but starting off with a vision gives us a sense of direction, sort of like a compass of where we want to go. Mhm. Exactly. The more we sit in that, the more it gives us clarity. So that's the other part of sort of vision casting. We're reverse engineering and seeing what we want and working backwards on that. And step two would be this is where we are working on the next system, which is ourselves as the family dynamic. So we're building a culture. So step two is build the family culture. And again, if you think about the hierarchy, we, the family, we are our child's environment. So when we, again, looking at the lens from the lens of an OT, we look we work very holistically. We're looking at the individual as a whole, and what impacts them is their environment, which is us, the parents, or you. And so when we work on our family also as the environment, that sort of starts to fill in the puzzle again from the outside in. So building a family culture may look like building gratitude. And this sounds so simple. And I know a lot of um, this encouragement is heard in every field, but it just makes such a difference. When we are modeling gratitude, we're modeling resilience. We're modeling how we choose to uh, meet the challenge ahead of us. We're modeling coping skills. We're also choosing connections with our kids. So something that I have learned, let's say for myself, is we all have our fight or flight flee tendencies. For me, when I get highly stressed out, I emotionally leave the room. I check out. So I'm there with my kids, but I'm not there emotionally. But when I get to practice gratitude, I'm bringing myself to the present, the here and now. And when my kids see that, they see that this is capable for my mom, so it must be capable for me too. And so, of course, that's seeds planted over time and that takes root. But yes, gratitude is such a huge one for building a family culture of we're in this together and we can choose to find joy even in the hardship. We Exactly. Exactly. And I was going to touch on that. And so, yes, these are part of our systems. So it's not just relational, which it is a big part of, but it's also environmental. What is our environmental family culture? And just like you said, the rhythm, and here's a few, I'm going to give some goals for each step, like some examples. So for the family culture goal, one of mine was I'm going to track the calendar every day with my child. And so this is where every morning we're already sitting down to eat breakfast. The calendar is right there on the fridge, along with our to-do list. It takes 2 minutes to go over it with them while we eat. And so what this does, just like you said, was it builds a rhythm of predictability and is teaching them the long-term skill of executive function skill of planning and uh, future thinking and even planning their own calendar one day. So we're modeling those in real time and we're setting up a system of predictability and felt sense of safety when you know what's coming next. And a relational goal might look like having a daily connection time of 5 minutes with each of my kids. And this means one-on-one, face-to-face time. I'm not correcting, commanding, expecting anything, but we're just there together. Yep. Yes. All right, let's see. Step 3 would be focusing on us as the parents. We're strengthening ourselves as the parent. So that's the next hierarchy there. And this is where we're looking at accountability. How are we tracking our goals? Are we using, sometimes it could be checking off on the calendar each day that I spend, I make sure I'm spending time with my kids, those 5 minutes of daily connection time. Once I have that check mark, now I have a chain that I can visualize and see. I don't want to break that chain. I've been doing so well for so many days. So it could be simple as that, or it could be accountability in the sense of who are you hanging around with? Who are you talking to that is your support system? I heard a quote one time that someone says, I wouldn't take criticism from someone I wouldn't take advice from. So who do you admire as far as being a parent in themselves? Do they have the same values as you do? Do they have the same methodology that you do and that you want to refine those skills with? So in those sense of accountability, yes, they could be a friend, a spouse, an online community, any of those things where you can seek support. Oh, I could give 100 reasons, but I will say we are humans just like our children. And at some point, willpower will fail us because our energy reserves will become depleted. Um, Whenever challenges arise, there is a sense of stress, and we all experience stress. That's a normal thing. But when it's outside of our window of tolerance, we can manage, we can deal with the stress in a very unhealthy way, which not only further depletes us, but then it bleeds over to our kids where we're not able to show up the way they need. If we're dysregulated, they will be dysregulated. The more regulated we are, the more we will be able to lend our kids our calmer nervous systems. I don't say calm because we're not always 100% calm, but we will be able to slowly bring them into regulation as we are regulated ourselves. Mhm. It's a good one. Yes, absolutely. And it's great when you can even model how you're regulating yourselves and you're using declarative language or reflective language and even I call it living out loud. You're stating your internal sensations out loud for your kids to see because now you're building their language, but also you're normalizing uh, regulation and dysregulation and feelings. We all experience those regulation, dysregulation, and that can be so powerful in itself. And my kids, I sometimes I hear them talking, and I guess think to myself, wow, that's so much emotional maturity for a child your age just because they've been exposed to that language. Just the other day, my son, my youngest, he was 6, he goes, Mom, you seem really overwhelmed right now. And was just curious. I was like, what made you think that? And I must have emotionally left the room because I wasn't even aware. But he goes, well, you're talking fast and your voice is getting a little bit louder and you're moving around the kitchen really fast. And I said, you know what? You are totally right. I think I need to just slow down and take a deep breath right now. And so I did that. And again, it's not going to change the world overnight, but you're planting seeds of growth and change for them and modeling, again, what regulation looks like. And that is normal that we all need to take those measures sometimes. Okay. Yes. Yes. They need so much more explicit teaching than we think sometimes. We sort of assume that kids will just pick up on things. And they do to an extent. Skills are taught more than they're caught more than they're taught sometimes. But also we do need to be explicit and intentional with what we're modeling and teaching too. Number 4 has to do with installing systems. I'm sorry. This follows up with what I just spoke of, the environment. So these are where the routines and the visuals come in place. And so we have our, like I said, we're talking about our family culture and ourselves as the parents, and then the systems, the explicit supports that we have in place. So visuals we talk about so much, and we take it for granted because I'm sure any one of us parents with kids in the school systems who are dealing with accommodations have heard, using visuals, strategies, but really sometimes we don't make it explicit enough or consistent enough. And so, and this is where it gets really powerful when we do put those measures in place and are consistent with it. We get to notice how much support it helps our kids when, let's say, those supports are removed. So, for example, the other day I was working with 2 of my kids back to back, and I had forgotten to use my visual schedule. And I used to go real fancy and have all these pictures that you would sort through and put on the Velcro board. And then I was like, I don't have time for this. I'm also ADHD. I don't have time and the patience to look for these pictures to replace the ones that are torn up. So I really just simplified it, got a whiteboard, and just drew 4 little check mark boxes and then 4 pictures of what we're going to do. Or I wrote them out with words if they were older kids. And there were 2 sessions back to back that I didn't do this. And my kids, 5 minutes into the session, said, "Can I make a visual schedule for us?" And these were 5 and 6-year-old. So they knew how much structure and support it gave them just to have it nearby to refer to visually. And it wasn't something that that would have completely derailed us, but they definitely noticed how much it helped them. So again, when we are using something in a very intentional way, we're modeling to our kids in real time for them how to use it one day. So one day they'll be using list. They'll be using their notepads on their phone or writing it out, planners, organizers. These are all the baby steps to get there. Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Yes. And so, yes. So step 5, these are where we get to now look at our kids' skills. So I hate to use the word behavior, but in the most neutral way. Now we're specifically targeting their behaviors and their skill sets. So I'll give some examples of goals, but just to kind of get some quick tips, and like you just said, baby steps. Not even baby steps, but micro steps. What are the steps? What do I want to happen? What are the preceding steps to even get there? So a goal like getting out of the door by in 30 minutes in the morning might be way too broad. For us, we had to even start with my son will put his shoes on. My son will bring his own backpack into the car. So like we're having to really break down those steps. And if those were hard for him, then we would break them down even more. I would hold your shoes. And making it as fun and playful as you can. We're going to piggyback ride to the car and I will hand you your shoes and you can put it in there. So just looking at what you can break down into micro steps, how you can build in fun and playfulness into a routine that is not so fun and playful. And I know that our capacities are different and we don't always feel playful all the time, but we can always choose a more connected and regulated way if we just pause and take a deep breath and then proceed. Sure. So one of my parents in the parenting program, and I love when parents give me the examples that work for them. Um, so this was not so much as a breaking it down micro step, and I'll give you one soon, but she noticed that whenever their family dog would sleep in her son's bed, he would fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up quicker. And it was so funny because she was just like, I hate washing his sheets. There's dog fur everywhere. And then we really had to talk about, what are the risk and benefit or the cost and benefits here for him to go to sleep and stay asleep and get enough sleep, which was such a struggle for him, and wake up on time because of, having this dog, their family dog with him and helping him co-regulate, helping him feel comfortable and safe. All of those were huge wins. The trade-off was, yes, there's dog fur in his bed. But not just looking at the baby stuff, but looking at the supports and having to really think outside of the box too. And so something else that she did for him was they would plan collaboratively what meals that would help him that morning to be motivated, but also to shorten or just simplify their morning routine. So during the weekend, he would pick out his meals. They would meal prep together. It might be a sausage, egg, cheese sandwich or something. And then all he would have to do is heat it up and go in the morning. So there's collaborative work on even what does it look like, son, for us to maybe get out of the house a little bit quicker, or reduce the routines, make it the steps to make it easier. So it's not a one and done conversation, but it's like, what one thing can we try this week, do you think? And just trial and erroring it sometimes. But yes, for them also, and also for us, I have early school elementary kids, and we sleep in our clothing, clean clothes the night before. And so that cuts out one step in the morning. There's no shame in my game, and there's none in hers either. Whatever simplifies the process. So the micro step is just consolidating your steps. Do everything in one room versus 3 different rooms. Eating meals that you can always also be ready to go. And then as they master each step, then you can make it more complex meals, for example, if you wanted. So yes, just simplifying wherever you can. Yes. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Yep. And again, there's cognitive flexibility at play there. Not tying down one way, but being open and managing our own emotions around that. Like, I would rather not have to do extra laundry because of dog fur, but it moves the needle and it helps them feel empowered and rested. And then lastly, step 6, reflect, assess, debrief. So there's no point in setting goals if we are not going to go back and assess how we're doing with those goals. So this is where we get to close the loop and set up ourselves for opening the loop again. This is where reinforcement happens. Reflecting, assessing, and debriefing. And on a broader scale might look like, is this goal still meaningful for us right now? So is the morning AM routine the biggest fish to fry right now, or should I pivot? And also just giving ourselves grace to know when we pivot, it doesn't mean we're failing. It just means we're adjusting. We're making room for what's more important in the moment, our values. And then we can always circle back. But yes, just that consistent reflection. Even at the end of the day, did things go the way I wanted to? Did I show up as the parent that I wanted to show up? What could I have done differently? Are there any repairs that need to be made? And when there are, did I make the repair in a timely manner? And sometimes we do need to make a really brief repair and then circle back the next day when we're all more regulated. But just that kind of reflection is what is the difference between being intentional and just flying by the seat of our pants. So we feel much more empowered when we can reflect and then assess, what can I do differently? And let that bring us the next day of starting over and resetting with a much more empowered state of mind. Absolutely. And the cool thing is that those 6 steps, the more you do it, it feels so hard, and give yourselves grace. Just knowing that human nature is that we can persist for so long, and then it's very, very hard. That's when we tend to the discomfort feels very, very great, and it's very tempting to slow down or even give up in those moments. But set the intention of, in 2 or 3 weeks, when I set a goal, I'm probably going to hit that slump. Uh, there's a phrase for it, a valley of despair is what it's called, and set yourself up for success with backups and this if-then statement. If I don't do this, then I can still do this. If I don't make the repair right away, then I'm going to circle back after so and so, after I just regulate myself with a cup of tea. Or if this morning didn't go as planned, then whatever happens next. So just having the backup plan so that you can give yourselves grace, knowing that you're human, but also life happens. And so there's things that are out of control, that we are out of our control, but still setting the intention to choose what we do have control over, which is our mindset, how we show up, and how we choose to also experience and perceive our child. We know that at any moment, we're all doing the best we can with the skills we have, including our child and ourselves. Sure. Caroline Fitsimones Coaching.com. The name is spelled a little bit differently. It's Caroline, last name Fitsimones, coaching.com. So yes, I look forward to just hearing from anyone with questions, and also thank you again for having me. I appreciate it. Bye.